Rising insurance costs and increasing government scrutiny are leading to growing emphasis on fleet safety. Driver error plays a significant role in accidents. Research shows that 89% of large truck crashes are a result of driver error, while only 8% are a result of vehicle malfunction and just 3% a result of environmental factors. As a truck manufacturer, Volvo has built a strong reputation with its emphasis on safety over the years. I spoke recently with marketing manager Carol Gerard and product manager Frank Baio about what Volvo is doing to reduce or compensate for driver error.
Well, it starts with the basics, and our truck has a one-piece windshield, which of course gives great visibility, and then we have the overlapping sun visor, which helps to protect against the glare of the sun, and then the downward mirror helps as well to see objects that are around the truck.
Those are known as the active safety features, and then we have passive safety features that protects the driver once an accident occurs. So there it actually starts with the design of the vehicle. The safety of the cab is critical at that point. One of the things that we do is to make sure that the engine and transmission don't come into the driver compartment. So our engine transmission will drop below in a crash. We also include things that help to avoid the accident with respect to electronic things like VEST, which is an anti-roll, anti-jackknife system. And there it will help prevent the driver from getting into a situation that could cause a crash.
So Frank, you mentioned VEST, Volvo Enhanced Stability Technology. It's standard now on all Volvo trucks. Can you outline when and how this active safety system is designed to intervene and how it helps reduce crashes?
Actually, we've been standard with VEST since 2006. And what it does is two things. First, it is an anti-jackknife system, and then it also protects in rollovers. And what it's doing is it's monitoring the vehicle situation, determining whether or not it's at that outside edge of about to tip over. When it finds that, the algorithms take over, and it'll do a few things. First, it'll slow down the engine, even though the driver may still have his foot on the accelerator. It'll then put the engine brake on to slow it down a little bit further. And then it'll begin to apply the brakes, and it can apply either biaxial or on wheel end sides of the vehicle. This is something that the driver can't do on his own. So it might slow down one side of the vehicle to bring it back into alignment, and it's slowing the vehicle down at that time. Now the other part with anti-jackknifing system, it actually measures two things. One is the position of the steering wheel using a transducer, and the other is a yaw angle sensor. So it can tell which way the truck is going and which way the driver intends the truck to go. If those are different, what it will do is it will apply the brakes, reduce the engine, apply the brakes, and bring the vehicle back into alignment. So the tractor and the trailer are straight again.
So it sounds that in that critical moment, and where it's really just milliseconds, where a decision has to be made, and making the right decision can make the difference between being involved in a crash and escaping a crash, a driver using this system can feel pretty confident that he's got some very sophisticated technology behind him helping him make the right decision at the right time.
You're absolutely right, Lou. And the other thing that we find out is the fact that drivers, as good as they are, can't feel that trailer starting to twist as it's going over, and it will actually be too far over and be able to take the tractor over with it. So it actually knows when that tractor has met the limit. When it does, it slows the vehicle down and helps the driver stay in alignment.
Now, Volvo is also now offering enhanced cruise. Can you outline how this system works and when it would come into use?
Well, we refer to it as Volvo Enhanced Cruise, or VEC. And this system is an ACC system where what it does is it monitors the distance from the vehicle ahead, and it'll keep a safe distance from that vehicle. That's the simple way that it's working. But what it also does is it gives the drivers warnings as well as takes actions to help the driver maintain that distance. So if a vehicle is in front of the truck, what it does is it'll measure the time gap between that, and it'll determine whether or not the truck is at a safe distance from that vehicle. If it is, nothing happens. The driver sets it for cruise, it'll maintain that cruise speed. But if the vehicle ahead of the truck begins to slow down, VEC will take over just a little in that we'll slow the vehicle down to maintain that distance, that time gap between the vehicle and the truck. If that vehicle slows down quickly, it'll take some additional actions. It will actually reduce the engine speed again, apply the engine brake, downshift the transmission, and it will then apply the brakes if that vehicle slows down very quickly. So in that whole time, it's giving the driver a warning, and it's telling him, number one, I've identified the vehicle ahead. Number two, the vehicle is now getting closer. When it starts to get closer, it'll tell the driver through audio and visual indicators. On the dash, it'll turn the target light from a green to an orange, and then it will give him an audio sound of a slow beep. As the vehicle in front slows faster, it'll give him a faster beep. And when it comes to a situation where there could be a collision, in other words, that time gap is too close, it'll then give him the maximum warning, which is a series of hard beeps, and then around the speedometer, it'll light up red LEDs indicating that the driver has to take evasive actions.
So what's really fascinating about these systems is that they are providing drivers with enough information to really help them make smarter decisions, often in a split second. I know you've tested the system in Europe. What has been the reaction from drivers so far?
We also tested it here before we put it in North America, but it was interesting because one of the first tests that we put out there, test vehicles that we put out there, the driver came back and reported that he was approaching in the evening an area, and the truck began to slow down. He didn't realize why it was slowing down. Finally, what he found was that there was actually a slowed vehicle ahead of him that he hadn't seen. The lights on the vehicle in front of him were off. So this was one of the feedbacks that we got from the drivers. So in general, it's been positive. There's been some areas where we had to correct things. One of them happened to be with the audio volumes that we had. What we found was sometimes they were a little too loud. And if you have two drivers and one sleeping, you wanted to keep the drivers well rested. So what we came up with was a volume control for it. So now available is a volume control to keep at least the first two warnings at a lower level so that the driver can maybe depend more on the instrument panel for the information instead of the audio. But in that third warning, the most important one, that one still is at the same volume as we had first released it, because we had done studies to determine what those volumes should be.
So we're making sure that the driver is driving, has all the tools necessary to drive safe, and his buddy can continue sleeping in the bunk.
That's exactly right, so he can rest.
Now, you mentioned that if necessary, it can downshift the engine. Now, is that available with non-proprietary transmissions?
Yes, I mean, we have it available with the iShift transmission, but it's available with any of the combinations that we have.
Stay tuned to TMTV for our continuing discussion with Frank and Carol on truck features designed to make your drive a safer one.